The United States of America was ordained of God to be a place of freedom and liberty. On July 4th of 1776, the Declaration of Independence started a process that would become enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. That nation which God had ordained, which by providence was placed to be a beacon of freedom and light in this world, that nation made a constitution. Now, the term constitution comes to us from the same place as a character. What is your constitution? What is your character? The basis upon which people know you. And so a nation has a constitution. And the Constitution of the United States guarantees people the right to self-government, to choose their representatives, to be able to have a say in the administration of the nation that they are part of. Their rights are not given to them by the state. They give rights to the state because they themselves are free. John Adams said that we are a nation of laws, not a nation of men. This principle has guided the United States until this moment. We are not a nation led by a person. We are a nation led by the collective will of all of its citizens, which is why the US Constitution is unique on earth. I would describe it as a negative constitution. Most of the constitutions in this world, they tell the people what they can and cannot do. They're instructions to the people on how they will live. The US Constitution is totally different from that. The US Constitution tells the government what it may not do because the people already have rights. These rights are not given to them by the state. These rights are theirs by divine providence. These rights are there because they are inalienably given to them by their Creator. Which is why John Adams also said, the moment the idea is admitted into society that property is not as sacred as the laws of God, and that there is not a force of law and public justice to protect it, anarchy and tyranny commence. If thou shalt not covet, and thou shalt not steal, were not commandments of heaven, they must be made inviolable precepts in every society before it can be civilized or made free. The Constitution of this land, the character of the United States of America, is a character of freedom and liberty that recognizes that you as an individual have your rights, your property, and the ability to have a say in what is going to take place with both of those. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness made in the Declaration were now enshrined since this is a nation of laws. George Washington, the first president, said, "Government has no more right to put their hands into my pockets without my consent than I have to put my hands into yours." Over the course of the history of the United States, there are times when we've had to struggle to maintain our freedoms and liberties. And there have been those who have tried to stand up and enact rules and laws to take away freedoms and liberties. But always, the principles within the Constitution have helped us to self-correct. If one branch of government has tried to go beyond what they are permitted to do, the other branches of government have stepped in to ensure that always the Constitution of this land will be respected. James Madison, one of the founding fathers, said, "The powers of the federal government are enumerated. It has legislative powers on defined and limited objects beyond which it cannot extend its jurisdiction." This is the power of America. Alexander Hamilton said, "A limited constitution can be preserved in practice no other way than through the medium of courts of justice, whose duty it must be to declare all acts contrary to the manifest tenor of the Constitution void. Without this, all the reservations of particular rights or privileges would amount to nothing." The Declaration of Independence was a starting point, which led to the Constitution of the United States of America. As Christians, we thank God for inspiring those men who made it possible for us to have such a constitution that we would be able to live in freedom and liberty. Hamilton continued, "To deny this would be to affirm that men acting by virtue of powers may do not only what their powers do not authorize, but what they forbid." We have the privilege of living in a land that God Himself ordained to be a beacon of freedom and liberty, a freedom and liberty enshrined in the Constitution of the United States.